I hope everybody's doing well. For those who don't know me, it's Ben from My Cycling Coach, founder, lead sports scientist here at My Cycling Coach, where we have now helped over 500 riders achieve 3 watts per kilo and beyond with their power, fitness and riding. I make these videos as been on this journey now for 10, 15 years with my own cycling, riding, but also coaching, sports science, helping cyclists maybe just like yourself achieve their goals. And if through making these videos I can help you fast track from rather having to do 10, 15 years of trying to work this out yourself and fast track that experience to help you achieve your goals, then I've done my job with making these videos, hopefully. So today's topic, very relevant coming into the time of year. I've been getting a lot of questions, or certainly now, but every year at this time of year, around how to structure winter training. What should you be doing with your winter training to ensure that you are really maximizing your time on the bike now coming into these, I guess, crucial months. What can sometimes happen certainly is, motivation will drop at this time of year. Your riding will take really a nosedive. Your training will take a nosedive. The volume will decrease. And in some cases, it may even stop altogether. And then you very much have to start over again in January. And all of the great work that you have done with your fitness and riding over the spring and summer now, you almost have to start from scratch again in January. This is something that I really, I'm so passionate about, trying to really help people, cyclists, ensure that they do just keep some consistency going through the winter, as that's going to allow you to keep some sort of base fitness going so that you can then, build on what you have already done year on year in January, or going through the winter, coming into next spring and summer, and actually see some real nice, consistent, compounding progress year on year, rather than having to always start from scratch. So today's video is, how can you actually maximize your training over the coming months? Because there's a lot of information out there that says, you should be doing huge amounts of base training, lots of volume, lots of zone 2 training. You've probably heard that term used before, and this sort of zone 2 type training, you want to be doing 15 to 20 hours a week of this training to really maximize the adaptations and get the benefits from that type of training. And if you're like me, you've got a full-time job, you may run a business, have your own company, you may be employed in a full-time, work role. You may also have a family, kids, a family that you're looking after. You've probably got other things going on in your life as well. And really, generally, I find, Q4 or the back end of the year coming into Christmas is a very hectic time of year anyway. So it's more than likely that you don't actually have 15 to 20 hours plus a week to just sit on the bike and do zone 2 riding. So this is something that I've really dialed in on over the years, is how to help cyclists really the time that you may have available. So this may even be, at this time of year, like 5 hours a week, 5 to 6 hours a week, maybe tops. How we can really take that time, maximize it to actually really get you in a strong position come next spring and summer to really then achieve your goals. And when you do actually start to have a little bit more time, and that type of training that can actually maybe be the more endurance type training generally then does become a bit easier. So really just looking at a framework or structure that you can use in coming into the coming months is, rather than trying to do, just zone 2 riding, is actually placing the focus more on developing your functional threshold power, your threshold, your VO2 max, with some really nice short, maybe sharper top end sessions, or building out some sweet spots training. These are just some examples, some over-unders, some good quality VO2 max sessions, which, those sessions, if you can do 2 shorter interval sessions through the week, one might be more of a threshold sort of sweet spot type session, one might be a bit more of a VO2 max session. That session may be around an hour to an hour and 15, an hour and a half in length. An hour session, you can also get some really good structured working, targeting those energy systems. But just placing the focus more on doing that, what this allows you to do is, increase your FTP up over the winter, increase that threshold, develop your VO2 max, which naturally is then going to just actually bring all of your training zones up anyway. So you will find that your zone 2 power will increase anyway without having to do huge amounts of zone 2 training, through increasing your lactate threshold, your anaerobic threshold with that as well. So you can have those 2 sessions really focusing on those, targeting those energy systems. That then leaves one ride potentially which may still be your weekend ride, where if you can get on and do, an hour and a half to 3 hours, depending on whether you are maybe having to do that indoors, sitting on the bike, unless you're really committed, dedicated, you've got an amazing indoor setup. If you can do 3 hours, great. But you may find that, yeah, that ride could also be out on the road if you are still allowed to get out in the winter and really you don't mind getting out and enduring some of those colder, maybe wetter conditions. But generally that third ride will be a zone 2 focus ride. We do want some of that in there. We do want to get some of that training in because it is, to get the benefits from that. But really doing it in a way where we're not having to apply 15 to 20 hours a week with it and having that focus on some of those higher intensity sessions, but keeping that important piece in there. That's your, the sort of 3 ride framework. If you can continue to do that, and as I say, you'll probably find that'll be around 5 to 6 hours a week. We're doing 2 sessions at around an hour to an hour and 15, hour and a half, and then around an average sort of 3-hour ride. Some weekends that may be shorter if the weather is awful and you're having to do that indoors. If it is a nice autumn, winter's day and you can get out on the bike and do maybe a 3-hour ride or longer, great. But that's going to allow you to achieve that volume and make or target those systems that I mentioned. If it does happen that there is another day during the week that you can jump on, then I would recommend that you do add another maybe 60 minutes to an hour and a half at zone 2 if possible. As that's going to allow you to accumulate more time in that zone, and it is good to do that at this time of year going through the winter. But as I say, following this structure, what it's going to allow you to do is incorporate a volume of training into this time of year that is going to be manageable and have a really nice, consistent, structured focus with it. Make some real good gains in your FTP, in your power, in your VO2 max. And then what we can do is when we actually then start to get into the spring again, so we're looking at maybe March time, and the days start to get longer again during the week. The weather hopefully starts to improve. That's where we can then start to make that shift into the more endurance focused training. And because you would have hopefully increased, seen an increase in your FTP over the winter, as I mentioned, this should mean that your zone 2 power has increased. So what we've actually done is we've increased that zone 2 power. What we can then do in the springtime is we can actually start bringing some volume at that new FTP, at that new zone 2 power, and transition into maybe then increasing the volume to 7, 8, 9, 10 hours a week, which is then a bit more doable coming into the springtime. Again, the days start to get longer, the weather improves at the weekend, so you can generally get out. Still keep those 2 key, threshold type VO2 max sessions, but actually start to then build out more volume in that zone 2 intensity, add some more hours in there. And I've found, over the last, certainly 5 to 10 years now in my own training, but with all of the riders that I've been working with, is that taking this approach is just a lot easier to be implemented, but it's been really successful, seen some fantastic results. As I say, then coming into springtime, increasing that volume, you're generally riding around at a higher zone 2 power, which means that your general, average ride speed will increase. You've increased your FTP, and seen some great gains with it as well. And you've been able to incorporate that into your day-to-day life as well. So hope you found that useful today. Just really wanted to touch on that, a very topical, lots of questions I've been getting around this at this time of year. So hopefully that maybe helps you, just start to structure your winter training now, have a bit of a think about how you're going to do it. And really, as I say, the most important thing, just keep that consistency going now, coming into this time of year, to make, that compounding progress year on year with your riding. If you found this useful, as always, please drop a like on the video. Give us a thumbs up. If you find these videos useful, as I say, try to put them out there to really just save you the time. And if I can fast track you to your goals and help you with this, then I've done my job. Have a great rest of your day and speak to you soon.